Are you feeling uneasy or stressed about your retirement? Well, you're not alone. Many retirees feel exactly the same way. And there's many reasons for that. For one, they might feel uncertain about where the world is heading. There's no lack of negative headlines whenever we turn on the nightly news. For others, it's concerning to see their portfolio fluctuate in value. It's never fun to see your portfolio go down in value, especially when you're making withdrawals. Many retirees also feel like they have a lack of control over their retirement future. This is especially true if they have entrusted an advisor to manage their retirement portfolio. Advisors like to make things overcomplicated and they like to use big words to make themselves feel more important than they actually are. This just leads to retirees feeling uneasy and not having a clear vision of what their retirement picture looks like. If this sounds like you, then in today's video, we're going to go over a simple strategy that you can implement to make you feel more easy and less stressed about your retirement. All right, so first we're going to go over the problem that retirees are facing, and then we're going to go over the strategy and how it works conceptually. And then lastly, we're going to go over how that concept can apply to your retirement plan. So retirees will have their investment portfolio, and within that portfolio, there'll be some different investments that their advisor chose for them. But what we often see is that portfolio turns into a black box. So the advisor is buying and selling different investments in there, but the retiree has no idea what is happening or why it's happening. So they're just left out in the dark and not sure how those decisions are going to affect their financial future. And they end up not being able to answer simple questions that causes stress for them. So for example, where do I take out money if I want to buy a car? Do I take it from this investment or do I take it from that investment? Or another example would be, the market is down. Where can I take money out? If so, how much can I take out? So all these different questions that seem simple, but retirees are not able to understand because their situations have been made overly complicated. All right, so this leaves retirees feeling stressed and uneasy about their retirement because that lack of communication, and then they just feel like they have a lack of control over their retirement future. So I'm not saying that you need to understand every single detail about your portfolio. After all, you're retired and you should be enjoying yourself, but it's good to have a high level understanding so that you can feel in control of your future. So the strategy that we're going to go over today will help you remove some of that uneasiness and stress from your retirement portfolio and get you back in control of your future. All right, so the strategy that we're going to go over is the 3-bucket approach. So there's 3 buckets. The first bucket is the money that you're going to need in the short term. The second bucket is the money that you're going to need in the midterm. And then the third bucket is the money that's more long term. So let's say that you have $1 million and your goal is to draw out $50,000 a year from your retirement portfolio. So in that first bucket, again, that's money that you're going to need in the short term. You want to put away 1 to 2 years worth of income. So if we're going to use 2 years, that would be $100,000 would go into your short-term bucket. And because you need that money relatively soon, you don't want to be taking a risk with it. So you would invest this super conservatively because you want to make sure that that money is there. Now, the second bucket or the midterm bucket, this is the money that you're going to need for the years 3 to 10 of your retirement. So at $50,000 per year, that would be $400,000. And again, you're going to need that money relatively soon. So you still want that to be invested conservatively. And then lastly, you have your long-term bucket. So this is the money that you're not planning on touching for at least 10 years. So in this case, that leaves us with $500,000. And this is really going to be the growth piece of the portfolio. So again, we'll use the stock market as an example. So this is the piece that's going to fluctuate up and down in value. So the way that this strategy works is after 1 year, you've drawn out $50,000 out of your short-term bucket. So there's only $50,000 left, right? So you would take $50,000 from the second bucket or the midterm bucket and transfer it over to the short-term bucket. Again, you always want to have 2 years worth of income ready to be paid out to you. Again, you want that money to be invested super conservatively. Now, let's say that the long-term bucket had a good year. So you would do the same thing. So you would flow $50,000 downwards from the third bucket into the second bucket. Now, if the market had a bad year, so the stock market didn't perform, you would just simply leave that money there, right? So you don't want to be pulling money out of the stock market when it's down, because then you're just realizing your loss. If anything, this could be an opportunity to actually buy low. So moving money from the second bucket to the third bucket, but we'll just ignore that for now. So again, the idea is you always want to have money that's ready to be paid out to you, that's invested super conservatively. The third bucket, which is really the piece of your portfolio that's going to go up and down in value, you only want to move that downwards when that piece of the portfolio has performed again. So if it hasn't performed, had a bad year, you just want to leave it there to recover. So the biggest downturn that retirees have faced was during the 2008 financial crisis, and it took 6 years for the market to recover at that point. So by building out these different buckets, again, you've built out a 10-year buffer before you even need to touch that piece of your portfolio, which could fluctuate down in value. So retirees that use this strategy understand when there's negative news in the market, where their money is going to go down and where it's not going to be affected. So if there's a negative headline and the market goes down, well, it's this piece of their portfolio that's going to be affected. They still have 10 years worth of income that they can draw on before they even forced to touch that piece of their portfolio that's fluctuating. So it just makes them feel more at ease and less stressed because they understand they're not pulling that money out right away. So that's how the strategy works conceptually, but how does it actually work when it comes to your retirement plan? So what we're looking at here is a retirement cash flow analysis for Rick. So it's covering off 2023 to 2032. So the next 10 years of Rick's retirement. So in the info section, we'll see the CPP and OAS, and we'll see those benefits going up every year with a little bit of inflation. And then we also have some withdrawals planned from Rick's portfolio. So in 2023, he's drawing out $45,000 from his RIF, and his plan is to draw out $5,000 from his TFSA. So we see his total cash inflow in 2023 to be just under $71,000 per year. Now, on that income, he's going to have to pay some taxes, so just over $13,000. So that leaves him with $57,000 for his day-to-day expenses and some travel. Okay, so how can we apply the bucket strategy in this case? So when looking at Rick's withdrawals, we know how much money he's going to be drawing out from his portfolio every year. So we'll just use his RIF as an example. In year one, he's taken out $45,000. So again, that should be money that's put in the first bucket. We want that super conservative because we know we're going to need it relatively soon. So same idea for the RIF withdrawal in year two. We want that to be set aside in that first bucket. Now for years 3 to 10, so from 69 to 76, that would make up the second bucket, so the midterm bucket. So again, invested conservatively because we know that we're going to need that money relatively soon. It's the same idea with the TFSA. He's got $5,000 coming out in year one and just over $5,100 coming out in year two. That would be in the first bucket. And then we have the midterm money, which is again 69 to 76. We do see a bit of a larger withdrawal coming out in 2026. That's because Rick is planning on taking out money to buy a car. Right? So in this case, Rick knows that money today is in the midterm bucket, but over the years, it's going to flow down and end up in that short-term bucket so that it's there for him in 2026 when he's ready to buy a new vehicle. Right? So this is looking at the first 10 years of retirement. Any money that's left over in the account, so it's not showing up on this screen here, that's money that would be invested in that third bucket, so the growth aspect of the portfolio. So a good way to kind of know where your money is coming from, again, your piece that's going to be affected by market volatility, it's money that you don't need to touch for 10 years, right? So it just gives you that peace of mind and can reduce that stress when you turn on the news and you see the stock market happens to be down that day, right? So you're not having to draw out that piece right away. So I hope you liked today's video. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.